I'm very bothered by lazy critique, especially, pridefully, of my own work. You can rightfully call me a lot of things. You just can't call me an incel. I have so many children. So many children.
Sorry, I haven't got it in me today.
But back to other critiques, people like to use the word trope as a catch-all criticism, but it ain't. A trope is just a storytelling tool like any other. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You can't call an artist tropey because they use paint and canvas. I see we're going with the square canvas trope. It's just a way to put some of the work and expectation on the audience so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You cannot come up with brand new, never before seen original idea, and if you think you have, you are lying to yourself. Somebody's tried it and it fucking sucked. That's why you've never heard of it. A bad trope is just straight up color by numbers, total copy. But a good trope will take you down a familiar path. The important thing is that the storyteller doesn't have to waste time describing the path or where it started because you've already been on it before. But wait a minute, did you notice that interesting thing on the side of the path there? Now we can focus on that and the walk feels new and different. Let's start a new segment called Good Trope, Bad Trope, where we take a look at some common storytelling techniques and we show that tropes aren't always bad, they're just poorly executed sometimes. I would love your suggestions for future tropes with examples. Don't think of it as doing my work for me, think of it as a collaborative effort, a collabo, if you will.
Howdy do, fellow kids.
Today we're talking about enemies to lovers, which fuels the entire trashy romance novel industry and most rom-coms, which I have a soft spot for. So do you. Don't pretend you didn't like Love Actually. You're not cool for that. Miss you, Alan Rickman. So let's talk about a good, neutral, and bad example. Let's start out with a happy example. Pride and motherfucking Prejudice. Fellas, if you're trying to get a girl, fuck this guy. You don't need a Bugatti. Talk to that bitch about Jane Austen. Bitches love Jane Austen. You just roll up on shawty at the function and say,
"You have bewitched me, body and soul, and never wish to be parted from you from this day on."
Pro tip, do this over a hard flooring surface or lay a tarp down first. I'm pretty sure Jane Austen hated rich people. Like, all of her books are just like, look at how stupid and petty rich people are and the dumb shit they hang importance on. The reason this enemies to lovers story is so widely adored is that it is understandable from the audience and character perspective. What makes this trope bad is that some writers think all tension is sexual tension. Sometimes when characters finally kiss passionately, it doesn't actually make any sense, but they're just supposed to because they were enemies, so they are gonna be lovers, right? No, it doesn't! But here, the path from dislike to passion between Elizabeth and Fitzwilliam makes perfect sense. First of all, this trope needs the enemies to not be mortal enemies. Good execution requires a misunderstanding like we see here, not a well-established blood feud with a mass murderer like we're gonna see later. Our setup begins with a very solid explanation of the Bennet's position and that Elizabeth isn't like the other girls. Then we get Darcy, who is a pompous dick who thinks the women of the area aren't nearly handsome enough to tempt him. Overhearing this, Elizabeth thinks he's a giant prick and tells him so. Boom, there's your setup. Now here's where the story avoids the strong modern woman bullshit that we've been seeing lately. She jumps to conclusions like evil fucking Knievel and assumes everything about Darcy, mostly incorrectly. She is so dead set on hating this man, she swallows Mr. Wickham's lies hook, line, and sinker. Got straight clowned on by Mr. Wickham. But Wickham's full cap, for real, for real. Good thing Lizzie starts with an L, cause she took a big one. Oh! I don't know, man. I'm just trying to stay relevant for like the Zoomers and shit.
Howdy do, fellow kids.
Now, Darcy is the same way, having assumed everything about Elizabeth and her family from his brief interactions with them, and especially their mother, who is hilarious. Mr. Bennett! Mr. Bennett, my nerves!
Oh, Mr. Bennett!
He's also of the opinion that women cannot be very interesting, having spent too much time around Mr. Bingley's sister. Fellas, next time a girl asks you to dance, just be like,
"Your figures appear to best advantage when walking, and that I might best admire them from my present position."
I'm banging the east and I'm banging in the west and I kinda give you more and I would never give you less.
this motherfucker is smooth. With a V. Despite his frosty attitude and his prejudices against the Bennets, he does spare them some shame by paying for a wedding for Elizabeth's sister. See, he's a nice guy. He's just introverted. He's an INFJ, INTP, something. He's something with an I in the beginning. Slowly, we get to see the characters realize their mistakes, and we find they have a lot in common with each other. Now kiss! Darcy breaks first, but in an insulting way. Elizabeth is understandably a little stubborn and refuses him the first time. Oh my god, though, he walked to you in the rain and proposed to you in a pavilion on the English countryside. That is romantic as Later on, she realizes her pride was hiding her real feelings, and we get the happily ever after. You can see how this is a natural way for these enemies to become lovers, partly because they were never really enemies. They were people that misunderstood each other on the basis of a faulty first impression, but then later realized they were wrong about each other. By the time it's over, you're rooting for these two to get together because they're compatible. You know what's compatible? Me and herbal tea. Today I'm drinking some, what am I fucking? Wild sweet orange. I love this mug too, it's my favorite color. Hey Adam, what's your favorite color? Me too! Respect, man of culture. Now, our neutral example is one that I still like, although it's got some weird bits. It's the movie based on hilariously old technology, You've Got Mail. This is what I'm talking about. This is your classic enemies to lovers story, but with a twist. They're enemies IRL, but they don't know they know each other online, where they're falling in love. Tom Hanks' Joe Fox is basically Amazon, but with physical bookstores, and he is gonna put Meg Ryan out of business. This is 1998, and Amazon started in 95, and I wonder if Joe Fox was actually based on Bezos. She hates his guts because he's destroying small business, and he doesn't even care. He doesn't like her because she's carrying on these demonstrations, trying to make him look heartless. If these two opposing business people discover they actually have something in common and they fell in love, this would be pretty standard. But on the side, they're having a straight up emotional affair with each other. Twist! Seriously, the movie opens with both of them having an obvious affair. It takes away from the romance a bit, honestly. Then each has their significant other conveniently leave because plot. Here's where the trope goes from good to weird neutral. Joe finds out his online girlfriend is none other than that annoying woman that waves signs outside of his building. But he doesn't tell her. He realizes his mistake and sees that this business enemy is also this person he loves to spend time with online. So he does the only obvious thing. He engages in a little good old-fashioned emotional manipulation. What should be a romantic bit about people growing their friendship into a relationship is undercut by the fact that he is straight up playing her the whole time. It's serving vibes. Does the thing have vibes or does it serve vibes? In the end, he reveals himself and she says,
I wanted it to be you.
So you get the sense that she was catching on, but it's still kind of weird though. The enemies do indeed become lovers, but I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Is this borderline abusive? Finally, we have our shitty example from a trilogy of movies that gives us all kinds of shitty examples of storytelling devices. Yes, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and it's stupid as hell enemies to lovers crap at the very end for no reason that it was a Hail Mary attempt to get us to feel literally anything for these stupid fucking characters and a movie series with zero moral depth. Okay, Rey is absolutely the worst character. Let's try to focus though. So in the third movie, Rise of Skywalker, where apparently she just decides she's a fucking Skywalker. I don't know that I can do this. Here's the thing, I'm not even a big Star Wars fan. Like, I wasn't offended that they ruined my childhood or shat on the fans or any of that stuff. I'm a self-admitted normie who just catches some Star Wars stuff every now and again. And even I hated the absolute shit out of this movie. It's not insulting to fans. It's insulting to people with eyes, people with ears. The dialogue is shit. Helen Keller is the only one that could have enjoyed this garbage. Anyway, Rey and Kylo Ren are enemies, but that means they'd be lovers, right? No! Kylo is a mass murderer and a patricide. As I said earlier, tension is not automatically sexual tension. There is zero basis for these two to get together other than them being opposing leads. But he just realizes suddenly that he likes her because Palpatine bad? Keanu, does this relationship have any chance of working?
I've heard relationships based on intense experiences never work.
Exactly. None of this makes sense at all. Oftentimes this trope will involve redeeming the enemies to us, the audience, so that we feel okay about them being together. The problem with redeeming Kylo Ren is that he's pure evil. But hold on, have you ever considered that maybe he was sad once? Doesn't that make you feel bad? He's just misunderstood. Oh no, wait, murderer! This is the very definition of a bad trope. It was a crutch that they used because they didn't have any other story. They didn't build on a familiar story in an interesting way. They just tacked it on hoping that it would connect. So you see, tropes are just tools. They can be used for good or evil. Let me know your favorite trope and some ways that it's been glorified and misused. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.